look, I think that Terry McAuliffe, what he said about parents not having a say about over, what happens in schools was definitely something that I think really hits parents right in the heart, right? Because most parents feel very stressed out, very concerned, like things are very out of control, and that they don't have control over their children's lives, whether it's what they're seeing on social media or what is happening in schools or what's happening with COVID or all of these other things. And so I do think that probably did play into it. It doesn't mean that he necessarily would have won if he didn't do it, but I definitely think it hurt him.
What's America telling us?
This is a brand new playbook for Republicans. That's the main takeaway. Youngkin was a very good candidate. He had the message, he had momentum. McAuliffe had the math, but the momentum overwhelmed the math. And so the big winner, of course, was Glenn Youngkin, but the big loser is Terry McAuliffe, obviously, Joe Biden, the Democrats, but also Donald Trump. Glenn Youngkin held him at arm's distance very artfully, and he was not invited to the party. So it's pretty clear what can happen for Republican candidates if they put Trump in the rearview mirror rather than on the windshield.
Can I just say, and Glenn Youngkin appears to have won. We have projected that race for Glenn Youngkin. Terry McAuliffe lost. It looks like a 12-point swing from 1 year ago in Virginia. Joe Biden won by 10, Glenn Youngkin winning by 2. In New Jersey, where, look, I think things look pretty good for Phil Murphy. It probably will be more than a 12-point swing. It'll be a bigger swing in New Jersey. So I'm not sure you can just put this all on Terry McAuliffe or all on schools. There seems to be something going on in the country.
Sure, there's an anxiety out there, and I think Youngkin particularly tapped into that among parents. I mean, parents just feel a loss of control, whether it's through COVID or, Kirsten, as you were saying, through social media. They just feel like they've lost the ability to have any control of their children's lives, and Youngkin really tapped into that.
Yeah, he did. And white ignorance cannot be underestimated in this here country. So that's what he was able to figure out, I guess, psychological profiling or some other, high-tech method to tell him, don't put forth any policy, none. Just get on the stump, talk about the frustration of parents, and they have no control over what their kids are being taught in school. Suggest that they're being taught something that isn't being taught. So rest easy, Virginia. Rest easy now, because there's no. You just elected a candidate who's going to ban something that isn't happening. That's what you did, and he has no other policies. You understand that? It's qualified immunity for police officers so that they can kill whoever they want and never, ever have to be taken into a civil settlement talk or a civil trial of any sort, right? And critical race theory will not be taught in Virginia schools. That was it, and it's not being taught. But never underestimate ignorance. Never. It's such a powerful weapon. It's an amazing thing. And if you get the most mealy-mouthed, un-Trumpified Trump supporter to stand on a stump and scream about, banning something that isn't happening, people will swing over to him, especially in this time period that we're in, where we have failed to move a piece of legislation through the House and the Senate and onto the President of the United States desk. And people are frustrated. They are pissed. They are peeved. They don't understand why the Democrats are fighting with the Democrats. They don't get why nothing's happened. They don't understand why the infrastructure bill passed in August and they haven't seen it pass, the House. They don't understand why Build Back Better is being argued against by Democrats. I mean, you want to say Manchin is a Republican. You want to say Sinema is anything but a Democrat, because I don't know what she is anymore. But the truth is that they are self-identified as Democrats, and they're the impediments to democratic progress. And Biden has an approval rating that is Trump had a lower approval rating than Joe Biden has now at the same point in his presidency, but not by much. I mean, I think Trump had 37% approval at this point in his presidency, and Biden has, 42% approval? Pathetic. It's so sad. It's just it's preventable. And honestly, I just if Democrats want to win, they either need Donald Trump on the ticket, or they need to do something for America, or they need not to have Terry McAuliffe on the ballot. These are your choices. These are your choices. And the crazy part was, I was listening, McAuliffe lost white women. He lost white women.
McAuliffe, he's slightly ahead with non-white voters, so
Right.
that was not his issue.
Right.
He's slightly behind with white male voters. That seems fairly typical for a Democrat. He's getting clobbered among white women voters. In 2020, white women voters went 50% for Biden, 49% for Trump. In this election, per the exit polls, they're going 57-43 for McAuliffe. That is not macro. That's issues. With education being the #1 thing on the minds of these voters, that means that Terry McAuliffe lost a very specific messaging war on race. And so I wonder what would be your advice to Democrats about how they should answer that. Is it a candidate that's different, that is somebody maybe newer, maybe a candidate of color, it's just somebody who really knows how to message that? What could they have done differently? Because that is not a good number for them going into next year.
No, it's a massive shift. I will say, Joy, some of it I think is, first of all, Youngkin portrayed himself as not a Trump Republican.
Right.
Okay. He ran as kind of almost like a Romney Republican for most of the race. There's no doubt that critical race theory is a weapon that he utilized to great effect. But I think a lot of those white women, they're now gone negative on Joe Biden's job performance.
Yep.
They're worried about the economy.
Yep.
They're worried about the pandemic.
Yep.
We've been, dealing with school issues for a year and a half in terms of kids in school. So I think it's a blend. I think the mistake Democrats would make is to say, we just lost 16 points with white women, which is a massive shift in 12 months.
Massive.
And it's only because of the race Glenn Youngkin ran. I think it's a blend. And I think you have to understand these are big, big warning signs that are blinking as bright as they can.
But unless and until somebody wants to discuss the fact that we couldn't have the debate that we wanted to have with, Youngkin or anybody from the Republican Party, because the Democrats that we're picking to be the flag bearers of our party for, executive branch, offices in the states, like a governor or an attorney general or a lieutenant governor, that they can't have the debate that they want to have with the Republican because they invested in the Republicans' business. It's so sad. It's so predictable. Nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody wants to, in the media, they don't want to talk to you about the dark money that was poured into the school board. I don't know what to call it. The school board assault, the school board attacks, the school board effort. They don't want to talk about the dark money that went into, getting people to run to their school boards to scream and yell and cry So unless and until the media wants to actually explain to people what's going on, then this is kind of the result you can expect, because we didn't really own the Republican white women voter. We rented them. They just hated Trump. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.